Hello there friends, welcome to my another video. If you've seen my previous videos, you might know that I really enjoy small scale models. However, when I was in my local hobby shop, I saw this big boy on a sale and I couldn't resist buying it. This is Panzer 35T from the company Special Armour in, of course, 1/35 scale. Now, this is my first 1/35 scale. I don't count these two guys, as I've built them quite a long time ago, and they do show their age. I didn't know what I was doing back then, and I'm not particularly fond of them, so I decided to exclude them out of my mind and buy this model to try building a proper 1/35 scale. As you can see, the details are quite very nice for the scale, and you even get some resin jerry cans that I didn't use at the end. Anyway, let's get to building. First, I snip the parts off from the sprue with some scissors, or you can use sharp side cutters. And then I just clean the parts. It's really important, specifically on these ones, as these are sprocket wheels and you want them to engage with tracks, and since the sprue gates were on the teeth, you really have to clean them up for it to work. Very interesting thing about this model are the bogeys. They consist of a lot of parts, 8 wheels and like 5 parts for the construction. They were super fiddly and complicated, but I managed to complete them with relative ease, I would say. You know, I found a way to build them that actually worked, and I went with that, and I got them done in no time. And there is one tiny wheel on the front. This is even fiddlier, be really careful with it. Or you can end up like me. It's a good thing I managed to find it. I decided to put on some texture onto the exhaust. Now the tracks are link and length. These might seem tedious at first, but if you find a perfect harmony in what you're doing, you can get them right really easily. What I did here was I snipped all of the tracks from their sprues, and then I lined them up in a line according to instructions, and then I put tiny bit of glue in the joints. I let it dry for a little bit, and once it was dry enough to hold together but not dry enough to you know, not move, I wrapped the tracks around the suspension. This was kinda hard because I didn't wait for long enough, but I got it done at the end. I didn't glue the top part of the tracks on, just so they are easier for removing and painting. Next were some tiny little details, and the tiny little big tank was finally finished. For painting, I used a mix of Vallejo Russian uniform, flat brown, and a little bit of dark sand for lightening up the color. I applied the resulting mix in thin, even layers across the entire vehicle. I didn't prime the model as I wanted to keep the details visible, and primer, especially when I don't actually have one, would clog up the details. I tried my best to apply the color everywhere. Then I painted the rims of the tires on the tiny little wheels with dark German grey from Vallejo as well. This was kind of hard because the wheels were, you know, hidden inside the base for the sprocket, well, the bogeys, but it was done in the end. Then I used Revel Aqua German grey, or well, panzer grey I think, and I painted the entire tracks with it. I think this is the best color for base tracks, and then when you apply additional effects, it makes them look really good. So I really enjoy using this one for tracks. And then the base color was finished. I tried something new here. I tried highlighting. I basically lightened up the green color, the Russian uniform, and then I applied it on the exposed areas on the top of the parts. Since this was acrylic, I then tried my best to blend it with water, and it somehow worked, somewhat worked, but the effect is not all that visible on the finished kit, so I don't think I will do this more, but it was a nice experiment. Since this was my first real 1/35 scale, I used it a lot for experimenting with different techniques, and I will then use them on my smaller models. Next was chipping. I chipped the model with the same light color. I tried not to go overboard. Then I filled the insides of the chips with some dark grey to simulate steel underneath the chipped paint. And then came washes. I used Vallejo dark brown wash and I applied it across all of the details, mainly the rivet details, because this tank is riveted everywhere and it would be a shame not to, you know, use this opportunity for some nice depth for the rivets. I then blended the washes with water as they are acrylic. I tried my best to blend them inwards towards the tank, so it creates this gradual grimy look, because I like using washes for grime as well as for picking up details. Now this was of course still kind of messy, so I took a Q-tip and I wiped off all of the excess wash that I didn't want there, and it created this really nice realistic look. Now for the rust, I used Vallejo rust effects, and I put it across all of those little chips that I made, and then I blended the edges of the rust wash again with water, trying to create this gradual less and less rusty look, so it looks somewhat realistic. Then, for the exhaust, I followed Night Shift's exhaust tutorial, but with some differences, because I don't have all of the stuff I needed. I painted the exhaust first with grey, then I chipped it a little bit with white, with a old brush, and then I chipped it with different types of brown, I guess. I went from the lightest to the darkest to create this rusty look. Then I of course went over it with a rust wash. Then it was time for some more rust effects. I used Ammo's rust oil brusher that I applied on the most rusty areas, and then with a Q-tip I blended it downwards to create this streaking effect that I really liked, because, you know, the wash itself wasn't all that visible, but once I applied the streaking effect it really popped as a rusty spot on a tank. And I had pointed out that it kind of looks like a not blended rust wash, but if you look at it more carefully you can see it's not. And I applied the same effect on the exhaust as well. But I tried to blend it in a little bit more chipped way, and then I also chipped the exhaust with some dark grey to create some sap. Then came the suspensions and, well, dust and mud. First I dry brushed both of the tracks with some flat brown from Vallejo again. This created the like a little bit of rusty effect, but not so much. To be honest, I could have left it out. And then came some dust. I again used Vallejo acrylic dark sand. I put it on the parts that I wanted dusty, where I saw the tank would get dusty in references, even though I was using World of Tanks model as a reference, but you know, I think it looks pretty cool. So I just put it there, and then I blended it with water and a Q-tip. Blending with water created this subtle gradual effect of dust. However, since these are acrylics, I recommend working in sections and quickly, because if you don't, you will have tide marks and stuff. That's why enamels are better, because you can use enamel thinner to work with the effect. Then I put the effect all around the tank where I felt like it would look good. On the fenders I tried to situate most dust towards the hull and the least towards outside from the hull, because that's how the dirt would collect on the real tank. And then I did the same, but with a bigger brush on the lower hull. I just applied quite a thin yet still thick layer on the lower hull, and then I went over it and dabbed it with water, and it created this nice dusty effect that that's not all that visible as well. Most of the effects I do aren't visible for some reason. Looking back at it, I could have used pigments, but I felt like this gave me more control. And then came some heavy mud. I used Vallejo Environment and I used Vallejo Thick Mud. Environment is this acrylic paste that behaves and just looks like mud with little strands of grass in it. I put this one where I thought some mud would collect, and you know, where pictures showed some mud would collect. And then I took Vallejo Thick Mud and I spread it across the tracks, and then I wiped the excess off with a Q-tip. This created this effect of the mud getting stuck between the links, and the parts that would contact the ground are still, you know, clean. Anyway, this is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed. We are getting somewhere on my channel, and I am really happy that you are all here with me on this model journey. So thank you again for watching. Share this video, like it if you want. Go watch my other videos. If you wanna support me, you can head over to my Patreon, link is down in the below. Thank you for subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye.